Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto and welcome to this new video right here. On the markets, we're going to do a full market update. I also wanted to spend a little bit more time talking more about the kind of longer term potential for Bitcoin and therefore the markets, right? I mean, at this point of time, sure, there's always coins that are outperforming Bitcoin and underperforming, but most of the altcoins and the general altcoin is very correlated to Bitcoin, right? So therefore Bitcoin matters. Wanted to speak a little bit more on the long-term prospects of that. So then we're talking about the next month to 3 months. Then we'll also focus on the short term. Short-term Bitcoin is very stable, as you can see. We failed to break out. Also had a high volume candle with the POC at the top, so that's a bit of a reversal pattern, which we also got. But ultimately, like, this is the 30-minute time frame, right? So reversal in this case is just staying within the balance, and that is where we are at this point of time, and that's also what I continue to expect. Although at some point of time that's going to break. And we'll spend some time talking about that as well. We will spend some time talking about XRP, and we will spend some time talking about altcoins that I like at this point of time. So that's what we'll do. Let's get right into it. Now, first of all, when we're talking about the markets, we need to talk about fundamentals. At this point of time, the main fundamental news and the main fundamental developments is obviously the trade deals and all the tariffs, right? And it's something I try to do is keep up with all of these tariffs. But ultimately, I think the best way you can actually track all these tariffs and trade deals being made is by looking at the market. All right, if you take a look at the fundamentals right now, if you take a look at the S&P 500, if you take a look at the volatility index, which is kind of an index of unrest, right? But also gold, you can see gold is going down. You can see the volatility index is going down. So regardless of these trade deals, regardless of these tariffs, ultimately it seems like stability is entering the financial markets. And that's also visible if you take a look at the general financial markets, at US equities with the SPX, aka the S&P 500, which is still strong and which is still going up and which is still in an uptrend, even on the 1 hour time frame. So fundamentally, look, there's a lot of headlines, but at this point of time, we're fine. Tomorrow we have the FOMC minutes, but that will most likely also not do that much to the prices. So it's something to be aware of. You know, maybe tomorrow when it actually comes out, like, can it create some short-term volatility? Sure, but will it really change? Will it really change the trajectory of the markets? No. However, when we're talking about the markets, look, on the higher time frames, I do think it's good to know something, and that is that, you know, we're forming this range right here for Bitcoin, which at this point of time is kind of between 111,000 and 101,000, and I've spoken very often about potentially making new all-time highs, and I think that is a possibility. But ultimately, I think it's good to know that I do not expect us to go for a new leg up soon. And there's multiple reasons for that. I mean, first of all, the structure right now is a consolidation. If you go back to all the summers before this, at least the last 4 years, we never broke out in the summer. So that's technically, that's a great reason of why not to expect something like this, and to more so expect something like, you know, maybe a new all-time high, but then a reversion back into the range. I think that's more likely, and not only for the technicals, but also fundamentally. I mean, if you go back in time, right? So if you take a look at Bitcoin and you see this, right? So November was the last time we got a big leg up, except for this leg. I mean, this leg, it's a little bit stranger, but if we go back to the last major legs up, it was right here in November 2024 because of the Trump presidency, and it was right here in October 2023 because of the ETF. At this point of time, I don't think fundamentally we have a reason to see a surge in price like that. Now, later in the year, it's possible. Interest rate cuts, quantitative easing, who knows, right? But at this point, supply shock, also a possibility. But at this point of time, I think it's more likely, both on the higher time frames, that we are going to stay in this range. So also at some point of time, revert back down to the bottom of the range right here at 110.2.7. And on the lower time frames, I think stability is a little bit more likely as well. You can see on the 30-minute time frame here, stability is more likely. And we're going to have to wait for some news or for some major volume to kick in to either get a bullish breakout, which, even though I think, going for a new surge, a bullish breakout is still a possibility, right? We can make new all-time highs and then still revert all the way back down to the bottom of the range. So yeah, those are my short term. I'm very neutral. I'm open for both a bullish breakout and a bearish breakout. On the higher time frames, I'm I guess you could say slightly bearish. Now, when we're talking about other altcoins, though, that is a little bit different, right? Because if I take a look, if I take a look at XRP, I'm actually leaning towards expecting a breakout. It still has to be confirmed, but I actually think XRP, but also XLM, which I'll spend some time talking about in a moment, have gained a lot of strength and are showing at least a lot of signs of getting a breakout and an uptrend. So my thoughts on Bitcoin do not necessarily reflect my thoughts on altcoins. Like I said, XRP, I think we're going to break out, whether that's right here or not. I would say it is going to be relatively soon, but that is something I will keep you updated on. So don't clip that, please. And when we're talking about other altcoins, I think there's opportunities as well. I mean, if you take a look at Stellar, for example, I think Stellar on a 12-hour time frame is really desperately trying to start an uptrend, and I would say it's actually most likely that we're going to be able to form some sort of an uptrend. But there's more coins like that, right? So for example, I think Grass is showing something similar. It actually had some high volume coming in, and it's trying to form some sort of an uptrend right here. Do I have more coins? Liquidity, I still think is in an uptrend on the higher time frames. Kronos got some great news, has a lot of potential right now. So there's definitely opportunities. You just have to be smart about which ones you take and which ones you don't, and you have to know where Bitcoin is within the current structure. But that is what I think you need to know for now. That's what I wanted to talk about. If you do have any questions, anything, let me know down in the comments. I'll be back with new videos tomorrow, but for now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.